Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Sean.
Chris.
And Kieran.
You got it right.
I think so.
I thought there was going to be a massive gap this week whilst we both went, after you.
No, sir, after you. I just decided to get in there like the man in Tesco's who always goes straight for the till, even though there's somebody clearly making their way to the same till as him.
If they can physically get in before you, that's the rule of the till.
It's the ones that try to get in front of you while you're already unloading your trolley that I want to stab.
Oh, it's the worst.
Well, I've only got a couple of things. That's
It's
nice.
not how it works, it's cute.
Yeah. We're British, we queue.
I have a trolley and I'm not afraid to use it.
Oh, I've done that before. Although my favourite one is if anybody annoys me in a supermarket, I will put packets of condoms in their trolley and wait to see the explosion at the checkout.
Some kids did that to me a couple of months ago. And I just looked, I watched him, I was in the bakery bit of Tesco and I watched him do it. And,
Bakery condoms.
and I was just, under my breath went, dickheads. And I looked up and they turned around. I went, dickheads at the bakery, there's no sourdough. Oh, condoms, they're nice. I have those.
What is the best way to deal with that? Is it just to pay for them and walk out like you didn't notice anything?
Yeah, well, it's poor form to go, no, they're not my condoms. Some kids gave them to me.
Just claimed they're the wrong size and you wanted extra large. Yep, that fell about as flat as I was expecting.
I'm trying to think of a joke, something to do with Magnum, but I didn't quite get there.
Tell you what, let's talk about F1. There has been some.
There has,
And
for a change.
has there been some?
Yes. It was
Yes.
a race.
That is one of the best season openers in at least a year.
See, it should always be in Australia, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, regardless of...
I like Bahrain, but it's not Australia.
No.
No, the racing's always better. Bahrain can be a bit parady. And the weather...
There was a point during that race where Australia was a bit parady. Sort of 10 to 30 in between those laps when the gaps were big and you were banking on someone like Antonelli carving through the field, and that was really it.
Yeah, it did get a little bit like that, but I think what the whole crux of the situation here is that for the last few years, it's been testing in Bahrain and then a couple of weeks and then first race in Bahrain. Whereas I think having like testing in Bahrain and then nearly a month and then first race in Australia, which is somewhere that a quarter of the field hadn't been to in Formula One car before, and didn't it just show? and a lot of the field haven't been there since last year, and a lot has changed. The weather was almost secondary, really, when it came to that. But yeah, that's the challenge that I think the drivers need. They don't need to be almost mollycoddled into you remember last week when we did this practice, then do it again. But this time there'll be a crowd in the stands and the TV cameras will be, even more live. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Even more evident.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, I think you're right. That is what F1 needs, because I mean, every year testing at Barcelona, you always know what you're going to get at Barcelona anyway when it comes around to it, because Barcelona is the perfect test track because it's got fast bits, slow bits, and medium bits. And then by the time the Spanish Grand Prix comes round, what you usually see is the same speed order that you got in pre-season testing.
But that would always be the race that people would bring their developments to, isn't it? So actually you wouldn't end up with the same car. By the time you get to Spain, it's not necessarily the same car that you had at testing. Whereas with the Bahrain test followed by the Bahrain race, it was basically like, and there we go again.
But yeah, having the test in a completely different location to the first race, I'm all in favour of them doing that again.
Big yes.
So they will probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Bahrain pays a lot of money, doesn't it, to host the opening round as well as testing, from what I can tell. I don't mind it being a testing venue, but yeah, like alternate the opening round or alternate the testing venue so that it's not the same configuration of track, maybe, because the Bahrain has like 7 different configurations or something. Make them test on a different configuration, not the Squoval, but just 50-second laps or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the endurance layout that they don't seem to use for anything anymore. Because in the I think in endurance races that are now held on the Grand Prix layout.
Yeah, the endurance layout was using F1, and was it 2010?
Yeah, that was shit, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but it might be fine for testing. Just as long as it's a different layout for practice, or if they're gonna have the testing venue at the same place as the first race. I think that's what's made Bahrain a little bit, boring in recent years. They switched it to a night race, and that sort of made it a bit more popular. The first one was it 2014 when we had the duel in the desert, as it's now referred to, between Rosberg and Hamilton. There's a safety car with like 10 laps to go, and then Mercedes still pulled a minute on everyone else. So yeah, there's been a couple of interesting ones, but generally speaking, Bahrain's not memorable, and I think that's probably why. So yes, more of what's just happened, please.
Yes, definitely.
The 2010 one was the one where it was 2 Ferraris out front, 2 Red Bulls or 2 McLarens behind. It was Button's first race for McLaren, I think, and it was extremely dull. And everyone went, well, that's it, Formula One's over, Formula One's dead, it's the most boring thing in the world. They put in 3 new teams and they're all rubbish. And then the very next race was Australia. Lo and behold, it rained a bit, and it was a brilliant race. So, wet Australia fixes everything.
You hear that, Australia? Rain more.
Right. Not too much.
Right, that's going on the list of potential episode titles. I mean, if it rains, will it be the water?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
God has disconnected his drinks bottle.
That's probably the water.
Yeah, we've got a strong contender for radio message of the season already, and we're only 1 race in.
And it would have to be Ferrari, wouldn't it?
Oh, I mean, it shouldn't be anyone else. McLaren got to the stage we are checking with something.
What was that?
I can't remember. I'd barely
Is it
slept.
raining?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They had the way of checking the rain. It was Zach leaning out of the pit wall, sticking his arm out.
That's science,
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
He didn't get there in time before McLaren made it to that turn, did they? But anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. Right. Let me find the team by team, and we will start with Haas.
Yes.
Right. Oliver Behrman. Not
expensive.
Not the best third debut.
Not the best full debut. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Full
not
debut.
The worst
that's probably
either.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, one mistake in practice, and that just kind of ruined his weekend.
Yeah, because it wiped out half of FP1. It wiped out all of FP2, and then by Saturday you're in a different run plan, giving it's going to rain on Sunday,
and still the car wasn't fixed.
No, there's 2 minutes in, he was off again.
And then loses out in qualifying and has to start from the pit lane.
Yeah,
not an ideal start for Behrman. Ocon was fairly solid. Yeah, I mean, he held off Liam Lawson in the Red Bull for quite a number of laps.
Okay.
When Lawson had his pit lane start, didn't he? So yeah, he was. I think Haas are back to. They had an interesting season last year. I think they're back to where they were the year before that. They're fighting not to be the worst, and at the moment they're losing.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a really, really big fight for him now that Sauber are actually on the scoreboard.
Because Sauber stole the Hulkenberg.
Yeah. How Hulkenberg has gone to Sauber and made an upgrade, I don't know. Played a blinder unexpectedly.
I mean, this could be 2021. I said this last week. 2021 Haas all over again because everything's all about next year.
Although Ted says that they haven't yet swapped focus to next year, which is weird. Because if this is them trying,
that's slightly alarming, isn't it?
That's a serious concern.
It's going to get to 2026, and they're going to be America's second best team without even, in a cricketing sense, troubling the scorers. Because I can't imagine Cadillac not coming in and being half decent.
They're putting together quite the team, aren't they?
Yeah.
Graham Loudon is already in, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of other guys who've sort of been floating around Formula One for a few years who are experienced heads who are already been signed. I can't think of any of the names of any of them at the moment, but they've all been signed up, good to go. So that would be an interesting project to keep an eye on as it unfolds, because we should really find out who the main bulk of the team is.
Well, at the moment, they're doing a lot of hiring.
By the end of this year, I would think.
They're doing a lot of hiring through LinkedIn, because I keep getting LinkedIn job alerts. CFD analyst for Cadillac. It's like, right, one...
Now is my time.
It's an on-site job, and it's a bit too far for me to commute. And two, I don't speak CFD.
Where is it based? Where are Cadillac basing themselves?
Silverstone.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they've...
I mean, yeah, you're right. It is a commute. I will give you that.
Yeah, I think...
Not for you, though, Kieran.
It's 35 minutes up the road for me. It's, doable.
Yeah, I think they're in the old...
I don't speak CFD. I've got a degree in radio. I've got a degree in pressing a button and Coldplay appears.
They might need that.
You never know. You can't rule it out.
The intelligent bits of radio that Sean does. I do the stupid bits. This is one of the beds I've got on my radio show at the moment.
Oh.
That's rubbish. That's absolutely rubbish.
And remember, you can listen to Kieran every morning.
And for some reason, they're giving me an extra hour from March the 31st. I don't know what they're thinking.
I know exactly what they're thinking, and I'm not going to say it mid-podcast. Don't worry, Kieran, it's not bad. It's good news.
Thank you.
But yes,
nice to meet you, fan.
I think Cadillac have moved into Porsche's old HQ at Silverstone because they were shipping things out of their wholesale a couple of years ago. And that's one of the bits of trackside at Silverstone that isn't being turned into a very expensive hotel.
Right.
Yeah, the rental houses look interesting, don't they, at Silverstone?
Well, you buy them, but you can only live in them for 2 weeks a year.
If you got to buy them, I thought you could rent them.
I think originally,
or do people buy them and then rent them out?
I think people are selling them and renting them out. You can use them as a base while you're at a track day, as long as your car is stored at the track. And the planning permission meant that they're only allowed 14 nights occupation a year. Ooh. What is that cat doing to your phone?
He's trying. He's trying to climb up me, but my phone is where he wants to use his foot. So he's trying to stand on my phone, and the phone lacks traction. So he's thumpering it, and it's not gone very well.
Should have got pictures.
The pods at Silverstone, the Escapade. I might have got this wrong, but my mate Adam, who works at Silverstone, I think he said he was staying in one at some point. And on track days, they go for something like 400 quid for a night or something. But at Silverstone, they're the only bookable on-site accommodation because all the accommodation for the Hilton Garden Inn by the side of the track is all used up by the staff or by corporates, and all the other hotels or little places around the Silverstone circuit are just fully booked by F1 staff. So the only place you can actually pay to stay at Silverstone are these escapade pods, and there's something like 8 to 10 grand a pod per night, not for the weekend, for a night. So you look at 30 odd grand to stay in one during the British Grand Prix.
Just sleep in your car.
Yeah.
And this is why I'll carry on watching it on TV. And this is why everyone says it's cheaper to go to races in Europe if you live in Britain.
Yeah.
Hungary,
something like 80 quid for the weekend, and it's a cheap flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monza, you don't have to stay anywhere near the circuit because it's got a train station. There's direct trains every 5 minutes.
From Milan.
Yeah. We should do that one year. We need a road trip. How long have we been saying that? About 10 years?
A little bit more than that, I think.
Yeah. Probably saying it before we started doing this. Tell you what, we'll talk about RB instead.
Yes.
Right, Isaac Hadjar didn't make the start.
No.
One Formula One race, one DNS.
Yeah.
And then there are two polar opposite opinions on how the aftermath of Isaac Hadjar's accident went. You've got Anthony Hamilton, who did, let's be honest, one of the most heartfelt things we've ever seen in Formula One, where a clearly very upset young man, because Hadjar is emotional, we know this from his F2 days.
Yep.
A clearly very upset young man making his way back to the paddock, incredibly embarrassed about what's just happened, is consoled by, somebody with plenty of experience of being around the paddock, was the manager of a guy who's done, pretty well for himself over the years.
What, Adrian Sutil?
Paul de Resta as well.
Paul de Resta is what I was thinking of, yeah. It's a shame he's not on Sky this year. And then, then you've got Helmut Marko, who said that it was embarrassing that he burst into tears.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, can Helmut Marko cry because of his, eye situation?
I nearly burst into tear.
It might just be something he personally doesn't understand.
I also think the TV direction went a little bit too far. We didn't need to see two angles of Hadjar in tears at one point.
No.
You're going to see that on YouTube in a couple of months. Isaac Hadjar, all the angles. Here it is from CCTV.
Think National Geographic will recreate Hadjar walking back through the paddock in 3D.
Needless to say, we've had quite a few nominations in the wanker column for Helmut Marko since yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, that could be any race, couldn't it? He normally makes a twat of himself somehow.
Oh, I mean, most of them put specifics in this time, so...
Fair.
He can absolutely go fuck himself.
Completely, yeah.
Sorry, go on, Chris.
I was going to say, we all need to be a little bit more Anthony Hamilton, I think, just in the way the world is, just in general. There's absolutely no way that Isaac Hadjar stepped in that car for the first time in the wet and thought, what would be really fun if I spin this round and put it into the wall backwards, before the start of the race. There is no way in hell that was even any part of his thought process at all whatsoever. He's a rookie. It's his first race. Not only that, it's his first time in this car in the wet, I believe. I don't think he's driven this car in the wet before. There were a couple of wet F2 races last year, but that's an entirely different ball game altogether. Yeah. We know he's incredibly emotional, and for nobody in Red Bull or RB to go to walk down the paddock to meet him, to come in and be like, "Hey, look, it's all right, mate. Look, just come on. We'll get you back. We'll get you back to the paddock, get you sorted out, and we'll talk about this later. Don't worry about it. Just come back." It fell to somebody who was in the Ferrari garage to walk out the back of the garage to spot this young lad walking back, and then sort of be like, "Don't worry about it, mate. Keep your head high. You'll be fine. Look, you'll forget about this really quickly, promise you. But you've got to keep your head up and keep going forward." And it's frustrating when you got people like Helmut Marko then turning around and being like, well, that's embarrassing. No, you're embarrassing, Helmut Marko.
Do you know what really hits home about how bad Helmut Marko's comments are? In the entire aftermath, Christian Horner has come across as the good guy.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Helmut Marko's had a stinker of a weekend. He called Bortoletto a B-tier driver, then called Doohan a C-tier driver, both in slower machines, out qualifying his own boy Liam Lawson. And no offense to Lawson, first race, new team, a bit of a shame. But Helmut to have a pop at those two, and now Hadjar, and then say Hadjar was an embarrassment for crying, only to say nothing of his own guy, the slowest rookie in the quickest of the rookie cars, you could argue. Yeah, he can absolutely, utterly, categorically, and hell, physically go fuck himself.
Don't hold back. Say what you think.
You think you forgot unequivocally?
Unequivocally, yeah.
Yeah.
Big words are hard.
Just like having Lee back.
So when it comes to RB, very disappointing for Isaac Hadjar. I mean, nobody expected it. It happened to Carlos Sainz in the Williams. A lap later, he was expecting a different sort of torque response from his new car, which he hasn't driven in the wet, and it gave him a different response to what he thought. And he spun it around and he put it in the wall.
Yeah.
And Sainz is, he's won Grand Prix. He won that race last year. He's a veteran, but had that been his first ever race, he probably would have been really upset as well. So, difficult for Hadjar, but Tsunoda, I thought, quietly brilliant.
I was going to say Stroll as well in Brazil last year, obviously in that point for him in a very familiar car, still managed to cock it up on a formation lap. So it's definitely not just a rookie issue.
No, it's not, no. And not to put Hadjar in a category, but Roman Grosjean's done it as well.
But signs.
By the category, I mean drivers connected with France.
Of course.
Because Lance Stroll's Canadian, so,
So I think when it comes to Hadjar, it's not that the jury's out, it's the jury's not in yet, because we haven't had a chance to see everything. But he was pretty good in practice and qualifying.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's it.
Just missed out on Q3.
Yeah, out-qualified Liam Lawson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he did, yeah.
And then Tsunoda.
Oh, God.
I felt gutted for him when he ended up finishing 12th.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a true reflection of his performance over the weekend, because he'd been right up there quite often, clearly trying to make a point, just like we chose Liam Lawson, you chose wrong. And that seemed to be his MO for most of the weekend. And but then when you look at the drivers who finished ahead of him, you think most of them you probably would have expected to finish ahead of Tsunoda in a normal race, with the exception perhaps of Hülkenberg and possibly Stroll. So but it didn't. I didn't feel his race performance was reflective of sort of what we'd seen from Tsunoda, and I hope he carries on, because he, like I said, quietly that week, most of the weekend, brilliant drive from Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah, I think he was just one of the big losers when the rain came back.
Yeah, not sure when he pitted for tyres. I mean, obviously some left it a lot longer than others. Some timed it pretty much, spot on. But I'm not entirely sure what happened with Yuki Tsunoda and the tyre choice.
He did what the Ferraris did. He went
long.
Them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's probably what happened there then. So yeah, disappointing, but it's a strong start with an anomaly race right at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be interested to see what Racing Bulls. We can't call them RB anymore because they've changed the name. I don't think they've changed it since last week. So
but if that's their name, that's their initials.
Can we just go back? Can we just go back to V Carb?
No, that was a pain in the arse. Let's not do that.
Team Crabs. Tell you what, we'll do Alpine. Jack Doohan, another rookie who fell foul of the wet conditions in a new car. Didn't really see what happened to him. It's like one minute everyone's running, the next minute the yellow comes up on screen and he's sat in a car that definitely wasn't the same shape as before.
Yeah. Similar to Hadjar, I think it was not just water on the circuit, but it was the mixture of water and perhaps paint, white lines. That's what seemed to be surmised about anyway in the commentary that I was watching. Rookie error? Yeah, absolutely. Why? Because Jack Doohan's a rookie, and again, these guys haven't had a lot of running in wet conditions, especially in racing conditions. So, I mean, yes, they should be up to speed and ready and good to go, and I'm sure, should the weather be dry in China this coming weekend, I'm sure we'll see the multitude of talents that they've got to put on show and showing that they deserve to be in Formula One. But yeah, this was a difficult, given that he's already looking over his shoulder. Not a great start for Jack.
No, I mean, Ollie Oakes has already said maybe we should have done more to stop all this speculation.
Probably not a bad idea. Yeah. He looked all right in qualifying, though, I thought, Doohan.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he was running well. Just now it makes it, he's got 5 races to prove himself.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The clock is ticking.
Yeah, and then you've got Gasly in the other car, who again don't know what happened with his tyres, but it's a better start to the season this year than what Alpine had last year.
Oh, the start of last season, Alpine were just dreadful.
I mean, Gasly was running in the points at one point, post second safety car, but yeah, obviously he had Piastri, Hamilton, and Leclerc around him, who were all just a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I mean, he did lose 3 places in one lap.
He just had that one, didn't he, where he got like half a tyre on a curb and it gave him a little wobble and it was enough for everyone to get past.
Yeah.
He's one of 2 participation award nominees for this weekend.
Oh.
Gasly. The other one's still to come.
Oh.
Tantalising.
Can't wait for this. Stay tuned. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Yeah, if Alpine can get up to a better start than they did last year, then things will look better for them when they're no longer a Renault team.
Yeah.
The only worry is, what are they going to blame next year if they're not great? Because it was definitely the engine's fault. Even though going back to the days of Christian Horner not being Renault Power Unit's biggest fan, there was nothing wrong with their engine. It was perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Now our own team's getting rid of it and we're using Mercedes. They're running out of excuses.
Who Alpine?
Yeah.
I mean, they even bought Flavio back in the middle of last year, and I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I know he's supposed to be consultant and Drive to Survive. Don't know if anybody's seen the episode with Jack Doohan and Flavio Briatore yet, but
not yet.
It's a little bit. I want to say it's scripted. Put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's terrifying, and it makes it sound like Flavio Briatore is like the mafia don at Alpine, and Ollie Oakes is just there because they need somebody to pretend to be in charge.
I imagine Flavio Briatore likes the idea that he is the mafia don of Alpine.
Yeah, potentially.
Not just of Alpine.
Or just generally, yeah.
He reminds me of someone, and I can't think who it is.
Excuse me.
Yeah, bless you.
Thank you. That was unexpected.
Fat Tony from The Simpsons.
Fat Tony is sort of who I'm thinking of. Yeah,
Jabba the Hutt.
Jabba.
Have you watched Kill Bill?
Yes.
No, I haven't.
So
I've seen Kill Keith, but not Kill Bill.
You know the guy towards the end of the second film who who Uma Thurman's character has to go and see. Just like, I need you to tell me where Bill is. He goes, Bill. And he's sat there smoking his Cuban cigar. That's very much Flavio Briatore.
Budget Brando, basically.
A little bit, yeah, but yeah.
Right, now for what I think is going to create a participation award, being the fourth team, aka sixth best, seventh best, Ferrari. Now, on the positive side, it was a gamble with the tyres that didn't pay off, is what people are saying.
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever going to pay off. The amount of rain and staying on dry tyres.
It's a gamble that didn't pay off, but it's also wrong in the case that it wasn't right.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, William Buxton.
To be the fastest driver, you have to be fast.
Now, they may have been fast, but you can't go fast when your tyres can't actually make contact with the track surface because there's an inch of water between
No.
Yeah.
them and the tarmac.
I mean, that Hamilton and Leclerc was a 1-2 for Ferrari at one point.
I think that was only because of Verstappen's pit stop, though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was all because of the pit stops and the fact that the Ferrari decided to carry on with the hard tyres. It was a gamble, but why did everybody else have better weather knowledge than Ferrari?
We are checking.
I mean, Charles already said that his car was full of water. And when he was asked, why is my car, is there a leakage of what? Well, my seat's full of water. No, that must be the water.
Words of wisdom.
Yes.
Yeah, that was Charles' response. Let's add that to the words of wisdom. In the middle of a race, come on. I mean, Lewis didn't get his dream debut, did he, for Ferrari? I mean, I think I cautioned against this last week. I said he could very well be in a position to win the race. He's more than likely not going to, though. It'll take him a few races, if not possibly half the season, to get his feet under the table to a point where he feels comfortable enough to push that car to its limits, if even the car is ready to be pushed, for wins and podiums.
Which
I
don't think it is.
I think the car might be. I think it's the team that, as usual with Ferrari, are going to be the thing that lets them down.
So the interesting thing with Ferrari and the personnel, exactly leaning into what Sean's just said then, Toto Wolff, Andrea Stella, and Fred Vasseur all said, look, we don't know why we're rubbish on single lap pace at the moment, but when we're full of fuel, that's when the car is actually pretty quick against everybody else. The only problem is that wasn't the case in the rain. So you've got to drive and you've got to be prepared for the conditions. Everybody else knew it was going to rain. Ferrari were the only team who seemed to not realize that it might rain. They got it wrong. I still think the gamble was worth taking, but. Because imagine for one moment that there was just a little bit of rain in Sector 3. Everybody else dives in and puts on their inters. And Ferrari stay out on the hard tyres, and then the track dries up during the safety car period. All of a sudden, Ferrari looked like rock stars. It didn't happen, though. It didn't happen. That's dreamland. And, unfortunately, you got Ferrari 8th and 10th, which is not where... we thought they would be.
And also behind a team in the Constructors' Championship that has employed Binotto.
Yes.
True, yeah.
Yes,
Mattia Binotto is now he's ahead of Ferrari, this is true.
There's something about the Ferrari work ethic which I thought got scrubbed out in the last 2 years, where indecisiveness was questioned. Instead of the old Mattia Binotto thing of we'll make a decision when it matters. It mattered a lap ago. We'll make decision next lap then. I thought that sort of been scrubbed out under Fred.
Yeah, Fred... Sorry, go on. I agree with you.
It's probably an anomaly, is what I'm going to say. But these are the moments where it sort of matters. The interchangeable wet to dry conditions. You're not going to have a more important pit call apart from maybe team orders when you've got a 1-2. That's probably the big calls that you have to make with your driver when all else is okay. Interchangeable weather is huge. You could see all they had to do was go, well, in the penultimate corner on this lap, 10 seconds in front of you, both McLarens have gone off at the same time, and we've already seen Max have a bit of a swivel as well. Now's the time to pit. Not only did they not pit that lap, they didn't pit the next lap either. That indecisiveness cost them probably fourth and fifth. Who finished fourth? Albon. Maybe fifth and sixth. That indecisive cost them.
Antonelli.
And Lewis is not going to walk away going, result, sixth place. Love that. But he's definitely going to be more happy with sixth place than 10th.
Yeah, which he rescued from Gasly on the second to last lap.
Yeah.
But it was ninth, wasn't it? He rescued. Then Piastri overtook Hamilton on the last lap with a ballsy move.
Yeah. And I think Piastri broke Lewis's front wing in doing so as well.
Oh, okay.
I'll say it was a slight clip on the front wing, but last lap didn't matter.
So yeah, no dream debut for Lewis. Although closer to Charles than a lot of people thought he would be, especially in qualifying. But the Ferrari, even in qualifying trim, was 8, 9 tenths down on pole. So
yeah,
work to do for Ferrari if they think that they're going to push for wins and maybe a championship this year.
Mm-hmm. They could be the fourth fastest car after all.
Yeah, wins is an outside possibility. Championship is not going to happen.
No.
I may eat my words at the end of the season, and I will be bloody surprised if I do.
I think I said on the Danny O'Brien show last week that Leclerc might have the best chance of the championship. I only need to see one race to say neither Ferrari has a shot of a championship. It's McLaren versus Max.
You only said that because you didn't know he was actually recording when we were having that conversation.
I didn't know. No, we did 20 minutes where I was fart-arsing around in this room thinking we're just having the chat before the record. And then he asked you a question very formally and you answered it. And that's when I had about 3 minutes to go and I went, oh shit, all of this was recorded. What did I say? Oh God.
If anybody wants to listen back to that, it's on the Limerick City Community Radio website, lccr.ie, and it was Saturday morning show called What's the Score?
I mean, it sounds like you could get some quite honest stuff on.
Yeah. Helmet. Oh, what a knobhead. Helmet. Hey, helmet.
Stroll.
Stroll's optimistic. Come on.
Oh dear.
Right, when we recording?
We are... Right, we'll tell you what, we'll start the show with Sauber.
Yes.
Right, so Sauber is a really interesting one because not only did Nico Hülkenberg in his second debut for Sauber absolutely smash the all expectations in the race by finishing 7th, because a lot of people thought the Sauber were at the back of the grid after testing, even adrift of Haas, and it's just not the case. And it's not the case because of the pace shown by Bortoleto in qualifying as well. Now, I don't know if anybody else spotted this, but I'm not sure Bortoleto's retirement was entirely his fault.
No, there did seem to be some suggestion that he had was it a braking issue they seem to think had caused him issues.
If you watch Bortoleto's accident on YouTube or whenever you want to watch it, like right now, if you watch his accident, his rear wheel is loose before he hits the wall.
Yeah, it's an odd one. No, don't do that. Yeah, I was just loading it up on YouTube now. it seems like the spin is genuine. It could well be a genuine spin, but in doing so, somehow it takes a little bump, and that destroys the tyre. It destroys the suspension.
I'm wondering if it broke before he. So as he hit the brakes, that's what's thrown him round. I'm not entirely sure that was Bortoletto's fault. And again, I think he is an unsung hero of this weekend for that qualifying lap. And he's showing some pretty good pace in that car, which is, quite frankly, not brilliant.
No, yeah, it definitely isn't. It might not be the slowest car because of Haas, but it's definitely not the 8th slowest car. It's probably the 2nd slowest car, if not the slowest, and Haas just had a stinker. He has wrung the neck of it, as has Hülkenberg. Bortoletto in qualifying, Hülkenberg in the race, which was very similar to Magnussen and Hülkenberg last year at times, especially towards the end of the year when Magnussen classically 3 races from the end of his F1 career went, I guess I could try qualifying.
I got pole once. Maybe I could do it again.
Yeah.
Because what was it? He had his race ban, that is, he had a stomach bug, and then after that, invincible.
Yeah. And didn't get a single other point after his race ban. Not one penalty point. That's almost respectable.
And he's doing great. He's doing great in IMSA.
2040.
Yeah, he's doing great in IMSA and WEC now.
Oh,
Is he, or was he wiped out in the pit lane at the weekend? I feel like their car retired because they got like an unsafe release situation into them, or dropped down the order significantly.
Yeah, when the car's working, he's all right. Yeah, Bortoletto is definitely going to be one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this has been the season with the biggest fight for Rookie of the Year, and or certainly in a long time. And I think Bortoletto does have a chance of being up there if they can do anything with the car to let him have a good first season. As for Hülkenberg, 7th. It's the Hülkenberg place.
It's magical, isn't it? All sorts of chaos happens. Hulkenberg's in a crap car, and somehow he's finished the race in 7th.
I made the usual Hulk in 7th alert joke just because I didn't think it'd last.
No, that was his legit position.
And yeah, that's where he was, and that's where he got that car to. Although I still think you could get 17 retirements and he'd still finish 4th.
Yeah.
I know there are shenanigans involved in everything, but I do find it quite amusing that in one race he managed to get the same amount of points as both Bottas and Zhou, and by both Bottas and Zhou, I mean Zhou got last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Sauber are already on for about a year because there'll be other shenanigans this season, and they will have another opportunity to score points, and I think they've got a better driver pairing than they had last year.
Yeah.
I think Bortoletto is has put himself in this position where he's signed for Sauber and he's just got no pressure on him at all whatsoever this year. He can just go out and perform, and hopefully another team further up the grid is like, this Bortoletto guy is actually really quick. We should probably sign him before someone else does. So, unless already he's been signed up for Audi for multiple seasons, maybe that's the thinking behind signing him in the first place. But yeah, I really think he's shown very early on that he's going to be more than capable of staying in Formula One for a very long time.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think Audi have got him as a sort of medium to long term investment. Because why else would they have signed Hülkenberg? Because they wanted an experienced German driver, and Vettel wasn't going to do it.
They've got Hülkenberg for 3 years, so Project Hülkenberg goes on to the end of 2027, and depending on however good or bad he is, it probably is going to be I can't see Hülkenberg being signed up for 3 more years beyond that.
He'll be 40 then, I think, won't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's 37 now. So yeah, 40 by the time his contract runs out. I think by then Audi would be quite happy to move on to someone fresher, newer, less Hulkenbergy.
Maybe. I mean, they'll have had time to get a young driver program in that amount of time. So, Bortoletto could be the senior guy by his 4th season.
Yeah. And he would have probably have earned it by then because Bortoletto's done the thing like Piastri, like Russell, like Leclerc did. One F3, went into F2, one F2 has gone into F1 and is half decent so far. Admittedly, so far he's half decent. But I think he would have earned it by then.
Mm-hmm. And of course, just like Leclerc and Russell, he's come in at a backmarker team, so there's a lot less pressure on him.
Totally, yeah. One thing I would say about the Sauber, you remember back in in the slightly poor days for F1, 2016, 2017, when teams were struggling to get sponsors on the car. I seem to remember the McLaren in the second half of the 2010s was pretty bare at all times before.
Yeah. That is exactly why Zach Brown was hired, to get more sponsors on the car.
Yeah, and it worked. And look at McLaren now. What I would say about that Sauber is that I didn't quite realise it when I saw it before, but it is bare. It only has 2 sponsors. Kick, who are the title sponsor, and something called Coin Payment,
who are the official cryptocurrency wallet of Stake, which is also part of the Kick Group, which is the casino that they advertise when they're allowed to advertise gambling on the car.
Yeah.
I suppose it's a tricky one, isn't it, where all of the sponsors affiliated with the Audi brand will be waiting until next year because they will want to be on an Audi thing. And it's quite difficult to sort of maybe pin down a sponsor for 1 year. They'd probably be looking for something a bit more long-term, or would they want to be on a car that they know is going to be a bit of a bridging car and isn't going to be as exciting as they might if they go with someone else mid-teamy?
Yeah. What happens to Kick and Stake when Audi rock up with all their brilliant sponsors?
They don't appear on that car.
Yeah. Good night, Irene. You're gone. Yeah. It was interesting watching maybe on a slight tangent here, but I can't. What team was it when Ted was doing his sort of 5 to qualifying thing, where he was going through all the pit paddocks saying, very loudly, "Science is doing this," and then we go over to Red Bull and doing that. The Williams has 9 sponsors on their nose cone alone.
They've done that for a while. They've gone heavy on the front end sponsors. I wonder if that's a throwback to when they were at the back, and the most you'd say for Williams was from somebody's rear wing mounted camera when they were lapping them.
Yeah. And what was that weird flip phone company that sponsored them? Ronix?
Rocket.
Rocket.
Yeah. Rocket. That was it.
Yeah. Also sponsored Nick Hamilton in British touring cars.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they still sponsor the over 50 snooker tour.
Yeah, sure. I saw a snooker thing with Rocket on it. Yeah. That's because they're the only people using flip phones.
Yeah.
It
was flip phones, and what else was it they had? Energy drinks designed specifically for women.
That's a very niche product.
That's one of those things you suck your teeth through at, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, hang on a second.
It's like an episode of 30 Rock. It doesn't have to be real life. Come here, Liz. It's energy drink for women. Oh, come on. It's like when Brewdog made pink IPA because they thought, we're giving something to women. This beer's pink. Fuck off.
Yorkie did a pink Yorkie bar, didn't they, when they were sort of still in the midst of their it's not for girls marketing.
Yeah, and they also paid a large amount of money to rename this place the Isle of Women for a day when they launched it.
Yeah, they did. What? Yeah, we got the pink Yorkies before anyone else because the Isle of Man became the Isle of Woman, and we got the pink Yorkies handed out. I don't think they were handed out for free. There was a big promo team over here, and I got halfway through one, and I was like, I feel sick.
God, imagine if they did that on the Isle of Wight. Actually, don't imagine.
Is that where Reform are holding their annual conference? No, anyway.
I do think that it's predicted it will be 2 Reform seats next election, but let's not get too political.
Yeah, we'll save that for off air. Hello, patrons.
When Kit Kat Chunkies launched, my dad was the head of maintenance at Chessington World of Adventures, which for our American listeners is a theme park in South London.
Yes.
And very South London. It's Surrey. It's a theme park in Surrey. And they gave each employee a box of 36 Kit Kat Chunkies. And this was 1998. I was 7 or 8 years old. And they came home, they sat on top of my mum's plasticky piano in the lounge, and every so often we'd have a Kit Kat Chunky. My dad's colleague Lynn pounded all 36 in one day.
Oh, what a legend!
Lynn was a big man. He wasn't a small man, and he was a significant amount older than my dad. I saw him on the island a couple of years ago. It's like, you're still around, Lynn. Impressive. Maybe the 36 Kit Kats a day attitude is a way to go.
Right, we'll crack into what's left of those Japanese ones we've still got.
They're not comparable to a Kit Kat Chunky, though, in terms of size, are they? They're like a little sort of like the size of your finger.
Yeah, I think...
Then you have 2.
Oh, yeah, you have at least 2.
Oh, yeah.
So you're doing.
Yeah, an entire bag is one Kit Kat Chunky, I would say. And there's anywhere between 7 and 12 in a bag, depending on what flavour you get. I've completely lost track of where we are. We're just trying to avoid the inevitable. Oh God, we're gonna have to say Lance Stroll finished 6th.
He was very uneventful, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he was an anomaly sometimes in the wet, isn't he, Lance Stroll? Sometimes Italy 2017, wasn't it?
Yep.
And then there was another race, Turkey 2020, in the qualifying at least.
Yeah.
Sometimes Lance Stroll pulls out a performance in horrible conditions, and you go, "Oh God, there's a driver in there." But it's just, why can't he do it consistently?
Because it doesn't rain all the time?
I don't particularly remember him having a lot of on-track action. I think there was a bit. There was a little bit. But I don't think he had to particularly do a lot of defending or attacking. And I think that's usually more of a trip hazard for him when he has that kind of race.
So basically what you're saying is he didn't have to use his mirrors.
Yes.
He didn't have to use his mirrors, and he didn't have to do anything, because his position was, here I am, I've been called in for my pit stop at the right time, Albon in front of me is too fast, Hulkenberg behind me is too slow, I'll just sit here.
Mm-hmm.
Spot on, exactly. So the only thing I can remember him doing at the start of the race was he overtook Alonso, and then Alonso got him back on the same lap. Think that must have been lap 1 or lap 2 of the race, pre or post Jack Doohan crash. And then he was chased down by Antonelli, but when Antonelli was ready to overtake him, Alonso crashed. Then Antonelli did overtake him, I want to say, or didn't. I don't know if he did overtake him before the rain came. And then, like you say, Chris, he appeared at the right time. Piastri fell off the road, and would you believe it? The Ferraris crapped themselves, and right, Lance, you're 6. Okay. And that was it. Just keep driving a bit. You're not going to catch Albon. You're not going to be caught by Hulkenberg. Keep it on the tarmac, and you have 8 points.
To finish first you must be Finnish.
Yes.
But to finish 6th, you must be Lance Stroll. I don't think he did a lot wrong, and we've got to give praise to Lance Stroll for that. I mean, Aston Martin as well, perhaps. Yeah, his more experienced teammate Fernando had a very un-Fernando-like accident.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see the gravel on the racing line, apparently.
Which was kicked up by Piastri, was it, going wide?
Think
possibly. It was.
Full disclosure, I did just assume it was Stroll when I saw that crash as well.
Same.
Is this
I saw
Alonso?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw Aston Martin going backwards.
Yeah, I was like, there he goes.
Yeah.
There's a clip going round of Gasly a few seconds before dipping a wheel on the grass. Alonso being the first one on the scene and heading towards
got you. It's
the wall.
Gasly, is it? Okay.
Sorry, gravel. But yeah.
Yeah, Aston Martin weren't looking too shit.
Despite the fact they probably are.
Well, we don't really know, do we? Because from testing, they didn't have a great time in testing, but that was mainly due to drivers more than the actual car itself. But yeah, was it just referencing back what you said about Ted and who is putting their money into 2026 and the references into 2026? Did he say that 95% of Aston Martin is already in 2026, whereas it's literally 5% of their resources are going to this year.
Yeah.
So wherever they are now is where they're going to be for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Well, six and DNF.
Quite likely.
This is going to be a huge credit to Lance Stroll. 8 points, and this I think I said it once towards the end of last season. Good job, Lance. Well done. Pat. But 8 points in a field where the 8 quickest cars are probably going to take up the top 8 most weekends, and then you've got Williams and Alpine probably quicker than the other 4 teams. A point or two is going to be hard to come by unless you have a wacky weekend like we just had, and they're not very common. So Alonso's going to struggle to get 8 points back on Lance Stroll this year.
Yeah, when you put it like that,
yeah. It's a fair point.
So we could genuinely have a situation where we go, so who was good at Aston Martin this year? Lance Stroll. No, we can't. That's sorry. We can't.
It feels unlikely, doesn't it? He'll cock it up at some point.
In your luck, Kieran, what will happen is that Fernando will be like, I don't feel very well this weekend, and he'll have a race weekend out, and Drogovic will get in the car, and he'll finish third.
You know what? In that situation, I almost applaud him because now Lance Stroll isn't the best driver at Aston Martin, even when Alonso's not in the car. So Aston Martin have also put in a bedroom for Adrian Newey. I can't remember if we discussed this last week. The fact that
Sorry, what?
A bedroom?
Oh yeah. He's
got his own bedroom.
He's sleeping at the factory in case he wants to pull an all-nighter.
I was not aware.
No, the tweet from his wife. I'm sure we mentioned it last week, saying Adrian's gone to work. See you in 5 years.
I think we mentioned that. I don't think we extended that into having a bedroom.
I think it was on the Limerick show we mentioned it, but
it could have been. It could have been.
She said, "Yes, I packed Adrian away. I'll see you in 5 years or something." They've put a bedroom in, and Alonso got him a housewarming gift of 2 houseplants and a book on how to keep houseplants. I think that's lovely.
You see, I don't know if everyone knows this. Selena picked up on this, but Fernando Alonso really loves plants.
Yeah.
Like
the video of him sniffing the plants and all that, isn't it?
So you've seen it. You've seen that video.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's not been widely shared, I don't think, because it's just like, whatever. It's Alonso like sniffing plants. But like, there are times when he doesn't realise he's being filmed, and he walks past a plant, and he's like, "Gotta give this a sniff." But he gives it a sniff. So apparently, he talks to his plants all the time and goes around and waters them all because, like, he says. It's really therapeutic for him. He loves plants. So yeah, that's an interesting Fernando Alonso fact for you there. Fernando Alonso, quite the botanist.
The only other person I know of who talks to their houseplants.
Botanist.
Yeah, the only other person I know who talks to their houseplants is King Charles.
Probably all died of boredom, have they?
I think he claims the answer is back.
Growing these leaves and things.
Is that treason?
No, he only did it once.
If it was something to do with trees, they probably died too.
Also, a clip which went round on social media this weekend of Lance and Fernando being interviewed about each other and what they like about each other. There was something like, what was the smartest you ever saw Lance? And Fernando said, he was dressed smartly at F175. Yeah. My family went up to me and said, why don't you dress like Lance? He's attractive, you're not. To Fernando Alonso.
Why aren't you wearing a suit? Yeah. Again, we'll pull away from that. Oh, right. Williams then. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Wow for one driver, not so much the other.
I don't know, because there's a practice and qualifying wow there as well, with a little asterisk next to it.
Yeah.
The little asterisk being, although I think Albon completely disproved this, was the car set up for more dry conditions than they were getting, and Williams were gambling on it not raining? But then Albon goes and puts it in fifth, and like, it might be quick. They were both great in qualifying. Sainz was incredible in FP2 and 3. Unlucky binnage from Sainz on the outlap.
It was on the safety car, wasn't it? After Hadjar.
Yes, sorry, it was a safety car. He's shown us doing 0 laps. Albon, bloody hell.
I think particularly good for Albon as well, because I think there were a lot of people who were expecting Sainz to instantly come in and be the team leader, and actually Albon has really put in that performance. It's been like, no, still good, thank you.
I think that car has a lot of pace, and if you look at sort of where they are at the moment, 4th in the standings after that first race, 4th or 5th, I think, is probably where they're going to end up. I think at the moment they're well ahead of, in terms of pace. I think they're well ahead of Aston Martin. They're well ahead of Alpine. Obviously we need a dry race to sort of see where it all shakes out race wise, but currently points wise they're doing a lot better than Ferrari. Although let's be honest, we kind of expect Ferrari to claw that back over the next couple of races. I would say so anyway. I think Williams have got a really, really great chance here of sort of heading that midfield in 5th place.
Yeah, I mean, we were saying last week it could come down to a battle between them and Alpine for 5th and 6th, and it's definitely advantage Williams at the minute.
At the minute, I think they look quick, and it feels to me like there's more to come from that car.
It wouldn't surprise me if there was. Again, 2026 is looming large over us, and how much of this year are they going to compromise to get a good 26 car, or how much of next year are they going to compromise to improve this year's car? But if Alpine don't get their act together, then where Williams are at the minute, it could be a case of nothing gets compromised and they hang on to that 5th.
That would be amazing for them.
Because I think they know they're not going to break into the top 4 this season,
and they almost don't need to. If it is the case that Williams are another one of these teams who have basically parked it for 2025 and they're going all out on 2026, then anything this year is just a bonus. They've already got 2 incredible drivers. Like you say, Sean, Albon sort of needed that, given people had written him off compared to Carlos Sainz. Picking up any sort of strays from daft mistakes by Ferrari or decent qualifying situations. Never been described as that before, but good qualifying. Picking up those sorts of results are okay. So Lawson qualified 18th, and that's probably not the pace of the car. So what? You take the points and run. The money that Williams will get is genuinely helpful. It's not like Aston Martin pick up 8 million extra a year for finishing 5th and not 6th, because I think Lawrence Stroll finds that in his back pocket. This is genuinely useful for Williams, so maximise it.
And
yeah, I agree.
yeah, that's what they've not been able to do over the last few years.
Yeah,
but now things are a lot more settled there, and yes, they've got decent backing behind them. They've even got a title sponsor again for the first time in a while.
Yeah,
since the aforementioned Rocket, I think,
which apparently never paid.
Oh, that's always helpful, isn't it? Yes.
Mm. Oh, who else has had some money written off? Is it McLaren? For Husky Chocolate.
Oh yeah, Husky. McLaren is saying that Husky Chocolate didn't pay for the full sponsorship.
Oh.
Yeah, they're short of about 1.5 million or something.
Wow.
They paid for that picture of Carlos Sainz, though.
Yeah, it's on a mug in my cupboard downstairs.
That picture of Carlos.
Did we ever find out? Oh, hang on, I've got a cough coming. Did we ever find out if you can actually buy Husky Chocolate, though? Was that not the main issue there?
Scandinavia and Holland, apparently.
Because it's a Marcus Ericsson thing, isn't it?
Yeah, they kept saying they were going to launch in the UK. You could buy Husky Chocolate merch over here, but you couldn't actually buy the product.
Apparently Millwall sued Husky Chocolate as well.
They were on the shirts, weren't they?
Yeah.
That's a good point, yeah. I do remember that. And let's be honest, of all the teams you do want to piss off, you probably wouldn't want to piss off Millwall.
No, they'll let you know, won't they, if they're not happy?
Yeah. For our American listeners, Millwall are
thugs,
nasty bastards.
So, Husky Chocolate's website, it says coming soon, new website under construction, and it's when you search for it on Google, you just get the WordPress logo in the search results.
Oh dear.
You can allegedly get it in Norway, Sweden, and the Benelux area.
I'm on Amazon. You can't see it, and you know that's bad.
They haven't posted on Instagram this year.
12 weeks ago was the last one.
There's a lot of Dubai chocolate on Amazon, though. I might have to get some of that.
That's very trendy at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I like pistachio. Always have.
Yeah, the big thick one you break in half, and it's all very creamy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give that a go. If we have any Dubai listeners,
do you have to eat it in like a walk-in fridge? Because I'm guessing you can't step outside from the shop in Dubai and carry around your bar of Dubai chocolate in your pocket.
I think it is like made and available outside of Dubai as well. I don't think it's exclusive to Dubai.
Amazon.
Yeah, Husky Chocolate UK hasn't posted anything on Instagram for 137 weeks.
Ah.
Yeah,
that doesn't bode well, does it?
So it's a very... I mean, it's been described as a very rich chocolate experience.
But just not rich in money to pay its bills.
No, rich as in it doesn't exist.
I see, I'm with you.
We'll sell you a bar for $1 million.
Wait a second. A rich chocolate experience?
Yes.
I'm getting flashbacks.
I like how you could kind of hear each of us figure it out individually.
Is the logo black and gold?
It was red and white, I think, wasn't it?
Red and white.
Right, so they went for it. So they went for a different classic livery.
Yes.
So not content with stealing Lotus from 1978. They had 1970, whatever it was. That they have to go with the red and white McLaren. So next time we see a sponsor that's yellow and blue, we don't know where they're from, and they describe themselves as rich.
Well, I mean, it's not the only rich sponsor to go down if you consider Virgin Racing. Richard Branson.
Yeah.
Night, everybody.
That was about as flat as one of his colas.
It's about as slow as one of his fucking trains.
Red Bull, then.
Speaking of energy drinks.
Yes. The original energy drink brought into F1 by Sauber, not forgetting.
Speaking of running trains, Christian Horner.
Right, Liam Lawson. The elephant in the room.
Checo Lawson.
I mean, we know he's good. We know he's talented.
Yeah.
There you, Chris.
You know, he's the rookie that's in his third season.
Yes. He's generally run well in the wet in junior formula.
Yeah.
It was a strange performance.
Right. Good friend and definite friend of the podcast, Matt Steele.
Yes.
Said, if Red Bull can make a car that only one of their drivers can actually drive, they don't deserve any Constructors' Championships because it proves they're not the best constructor.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, that's a great...
Yeah. Well, the Constructors' Championship proved that for them last year, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. This is the perpetual problem that Red Bull have is that so you got Perez, who is now, off doing whatever it is he's doing.
Is he selling Kit Kats? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah. He's
chunky ones.
Well,
but a meme machine this weekend just gone, and then before Perez you had Albon, before Albon you had Gasly, before Gasly you had Ricciardo. And really, Daniel Ricciardo was probably the last Red Bull driver that wasn't Max Verstappen who was able to do well in a Red Bull.
Yeah.
Bear in mind that Ricciardo replaced Webber, and in his first season at Red Bull, won 3 races to Vettel's none.
And Kvyat was in there at some point as well, wasn't he?
Kvyat was in there.
I forget where he
Kvyat
fit in.
Kvyat was booted out for Max, wasn't he? Let's be honest. In more ways than one.
Well,
and so sorry, you have to let that one land.
Hi, Daddy. That's not your daddy. I'm your daddy. Daddy Max. No, that.
Daddy Max, wasn't he one of Criss Cross?
No, Mac. That was Daddy Mac and Mac Daddy. Yeah.
Also,
they did wear their clothes backwards, so it could have been Danny Kvyat.
Also, they were both about 12. How could they have been daddies at that age?
I don't know. It was pretty cool though, and Jump is still amazing. But so Red Bull building their car. At some point, they have to get to the. It's kind of like the guy who keeps going through the same problem in relationships. Eventually, they're going to have to get to the point where they realize, wait a minute, am I the problem? Same thing keeps happening to me. What am I doing wrong? But they seem a bit too pig-headed to actually step back and realize maybe we need to build a car that 2 drivers can drive. I think it's going to take everybody who's just either switched teams or joined Formula One a little while to assimilate to the race conditions in their new teams or their new cars or whatever it is, a new sport to some people. I don't think we can be too harsh on Liam Lawson. He's pretty much not. He's not going to be harsh on himself. He's
probably got Helmut Marko to do that for him.
No, he's in his Drive to Survive episode. They do, and I know it's heavily edited, but they do make him seem like he's very, very self-confident. Let's say. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, but you do need that. You do need that level of self-confidence to be able to go out there and perform. Amongst the 20 best drivers on the planet. So I totally get why somebody would have that attitude and get picked to drive one of the top Formula One teams. I just hope it's not a consistent thing for Liam Lawson. And he owned what happened. He was just like, yeah, this is not good enough qualifying. And then obviously they started him from the pit lane, and then during the race, as I said before, it took him a long, long time to get past Esteban Ocon. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe that was just a confidence in the wet thing. I don't know.
It's quite sort of obvious, though, isn't it? When you look at sort of obviously Antonelli also had the bad qualifying and yet finished fourth. Yep. Lawson just never made that progress through the field. It's definitely not just the qualifying.
No, it's not just the qualifying. It's the racecraft as well. But you've got to have that confidence, and obviously somebody like Kimi Antonelli had that confidence. He was about one of the only drivers who did have any confidence out there, to be fair. Yeah. But yeah, I don't want to be too harsh just yet on Liam Lawson. I did just call him Checo Lawson. I can't take credit for that. I saw that on another Formula One site. I won't start calling him that. I promise. It's too early and it's too harsh to say that Liam Lawson is as bad as as Perez was last year.
Yeah, we don't have. People are saying, "Oh well, I'm sure Perez must be loving this," and I think I said to Jane over the weekend, "What's worse, being sacked for someone who is just as bad as you and you feel vindicated all along, or being let go, the person coming in does it." That wasn't what was the conundrum? It's almost as if I wish this could be edited out. But there was a conundrum that Perez was dealing with. I can't remember it.
Was he on countdown?
Is it worse for Perez? I'm doing this in real time. In a minute, we're going to be moving on from this with no resolution.
Are you trying to get to, is it better to be replaced by someone who's just as shit or someone who's better? Is that kind of where you're going?
Well, is it better to be replaced by someone who's just as shit and you're sitting there going, I was right all along, the car is bad and no one can do it? Or is it better that Lawson does well? It's not obviously not better, is it?
Not better for Perez, but I mean, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it kind of he won't necessarily have taken any pleasure in the fact that Liam Lawson didn't do well, but because he knows what the situation would be at Red Bull when the car isn't built around you. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Liam Lawson, I'm going to put in the same category as, and not because it's like he's being classed as a rookie, but Jack Doohan, Isaac Hadjar. I shouldn't be saying this, but Ferrari. We need to see these cars this year in like dry running in a inverted quote, not inverted quotes, inverted commas, normal race. If we can have a normal-ish race, then we'll see, I think, the true pace of everybody. And hopefully Liam Lawson, for Red Bull's sake and for his own sake, isn't getting Q1, Q2 eliminations every week.
We're not at panic stations by any stretch of the imagination. It's very easy online to turn around and say, oh, look, they got rid of Sergio and the same thing's happening. It's been one race, one wet race for one driver in his first race where it was wet for the second half of the weekend.
Yeah.
People will start saying, oh, well, maybe they shouldn't have got rid of Perez. They should have got rid of Perez. The car was not to Perez's suiting. It hasn't been to anyone's real suiting since Daniel Ricciardo in that second seat, sure, but you're better off trying someone new who might drive it a bit like Max does than the same person who's definitely not going to drive it the way that Max does and thinks that it is rubbish. So, and in turn comes off as rubbish. So it's always worth trying someone new.
The thing is, that's Red Bull's thing, and they're going to keep on doing that until they find the next Max.
They will, and sadly, that's just the way they work.
And I don't think there is another Max. The guy's a freak of nature.
So what do they do then when Max leaves the team? And he's got a contract through to 2028. I'm not convinced. Either I think before that he'll jump ship or he'll jump sport. I don't think he's going to hang around. If he finishes fourth in the title this year, for example, I think he'll finish second or third. But if he finishes low down in the title this year, he's not going to hang around and go, well, I don't like the marketing. I have to leave the house 24 weekends a year. I'm about to have a kid. And, I quite like hanging out with Josh Thompson and the others. What is driving me to go and do F1? I'm rich. So what do Red Bull do then if Max disappears? If he goes to Mercedes or if he just disappears from the sport entirely? They're going to have to change their design ethic entirely.
Yeah, spend a year battling for 8th place, have massive regret, and start apologising to a lot of drivers who they will try and hire.
Yep, of which a lot of them aren't even on the grid yet. You're going to end up having a Red Bull team in 3 years, which is Arvin Lindblad and Isaac Hadjar.
Yeah, quite likely at the moment. Lindblad looks like he's a real deal coming through, doesn't he?
Mm.
And I think that's only going to be the situation because my shortish long-term prediction for Red Bull is that in a year and a half, Liam Lawson is sacked because yet again he cannot do what Max does. They bring up Isaac Hadjar. I'm predicting Isaac Hadjar to be semi-decent at that point. Then halfway through 2026, Max announces he's leaving F1 entirely. He's going on a sabbatical. He doesn't know when he's going to come back. So in 2027, you're going to have to hold on to Isaac Hadjar, whether he's Bobbins or not. And you're going to have to promote a driver from Racing Bulls, which by the sounds of it, could well be Arvin Lindblad in 2 years' time.
Who I think has potential for a solid Rosbergian anthem, Arvid Lindblad. I want to say, is he British, Swedish and Indian?
Is he?
He's got several nationalities, definitely. Like, there's solid potential for a great combination of music.
Paul, whip out Adobe Audition.
What do you think we're recording on?
Good point.
And when that happens, Yuki still will get turned down for the seat.
Yes, he was born... Where is he? He was born in Surrey.
Virginia Water.
He...
For American listeners, that's South London.
Races under a Swedish licence, and his mum is from India.
Ooh.
So that is a combination of music.
We have a new Rosberg.
Yes, big fan.
What flag does he race under?
Currently under the Swedish. I think he did race under the British flag when he was in British F4, I think.
Yeah, let's just nod at that.
Or in a junior formula. It might not have been British F4. I can't quite remember what path he took.
But moving to the other side of the Red Bull garage, how much did Max enjoy that? When they were interviewing after the race, you could just see he was even though he didn't win, he was like a kid on Christmas Day morning. He enjoyed every second of that race. He just, which I think is possibly going to be the one thing that will stop him retiring and walking away completely. He loves racing.
Will he continue to love racing if he's not winning, though?
I think it was relief more than a thing, because I think he was possibly entering the weekend and even through practice thinking, wait, lads, we're behind Mercedes, we're behind Ferrari, we're behind McLaren. So I'm looking at maybe 5th if I'm lucky. And then all of a sudden the race panned out how it did, and he actually had a shot at winning the race in the last few laps. Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, I did say out loud, I did not get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch Max Verstappen win a fucking Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there probably is a little bit of relief there. I think Max probably can't believe it himself that he finished 8 tenths behind a McLaren in the first race of the season. And he drove well. Aside the mistake of him dipping a tyre onto the wet curb and Piastri going through, he drove reasonably well. He was the third person to get to that very wet sector and the first person not to go onto the grass and the gravel. So that's a good drive from Max, despite the fact that I was about to say put your hands up, but it doesn't work in an audio medium.
We'll try it.
Okay, put your hands up if on Saturday, having seen qualifying, knowing it was going to rain on Sunday, you thought Max was going to win the race.
Yes, I did. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, me as well. So to still come out with second and be happy when at one point the McLarens were pulling away a second and a half a lap away from him in that sort of lap 10 to lap 30 period, then yeah, I think he'll be very happy.
I think so. It was a good outcome for Verstappen. Again, we don't know how much Red Bull are leaning towards 26 and how much they're concentrating on 25. maybe Red Bull are secretly hoping that all of their competitors at the moment are concentrating on 25 and they're full in, all in on 26. But there is a gulf, isn't there, as you just alluded to there, Kieran, where McLaren, when Piastri, was back in second place, it was Norris and Piastri, and the gap was 2 seconds, and then 6 seconds, and then 10 seconds, and then 16 seconds. It was like, wow, like the McLarens have dropped everyone else. And Verstappen had a little bit of a gap behind him to Russell, and then I think Leclerc behind him as well. So, okay, the conditions weren't dry as such; it was still intermediate tyres, but it was clear running, and the McLarens were they were the Mercedes of the 2014 season, basically, weren't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
They were showing that kind of pace. So for Max to then turn up after that last safety car and have a sniff of winning it in the last few laps, to be within DRS range, I think he enjoyed that, and I think what we saw at the end was relief. Like, wow, no, I can still do this, even if the car's not amazing.
Yeah.
We'll need to see more dry running and more regular weekends.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
But I'm looking forward to a fight at the top this year. And
well,
I mean, even a 2-car fight between the McLarens, it's better than the 1-car fight of Max.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right there.
Mercedes next on the list, 3rd and an impressive debut 4th.
Yeah.
Driver of the day for me was Kimi Antonelli,
I
and I don't know how he didn't win it.
I thought he'd get driver of the day.
He was my driver of the day. I think was he unlucky, or was he just inexperienced in qualifying with the bottoming out and the damage on the car? He says it was gravel that was caught under his car. Did he just run wide and damage his car? Is that what happened?
Yeah. That's probably how the gravel got caught under his car.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he sort of ran wide and broke something. He broke the bib, didn't he? And then that was sort of,
and that was scraping. You could see the gouges it was leaving in the track, and it was glowing white hot underneath.
It's on fire.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so. But then to come back from that, and okay, again, there were shenanigans, and there were other people, much like we were saying about other drivers, there were shenanigans and things happened. But to find yourself in 4th place in your debut race would be great for anyone. But to have done it from qualifying from 16th, or wherever it was he qualified, I think it was 16th.
Yeah, it was 16th because Mercedes put that picture out with him with a 12 on it. Yeah. It's like, is that how many places he gained, or is that how old he actually is?
But he was the only one making any on-track moves early on in the race. When you said Kieran said earlier on that the race got a little bit processional. It did a little bit. Antonelli was passing people. He passed Hulkenberg twice in like 3 laps. So he passed Hulkenberg, had a spin, and then passed Hulkenberg again.
In exactly the same corner with exactly the same move.
Yeah, almost
very
identical.
similar.
Almost identical.
Because they showed the second one, and we were both saying that's just the first one.
No, I knew it was a different one. I'd picked up on that.
But yeah, it looks identical. The thing is with Antonelli, he is on the ragged edge all the time.
Yes.
And he is 1/10 of an inch away.
There are going to be DNFs, aren't there? There are going to be like, oh, silly rookie.
And they're going to be spectacular as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are talking Jacques Villeneuve level of crashing here.
Maybe a couple of small, silly mistakes in F2 last year. One at Silverstone, one in Australia, but nothing, upside downy. So he's,
I think working with George Russell will help because George will have the maturity to sort of instruct him in when to back off, and you don't have to give it 110% all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes 105% is enough. But Yeah, I was impressed by both Mercedes this weekend. Kept it together. The car was on the same horizontal plane all the way through and didn't bounce up and down like a fleet of space hoppers.
Yeah.
And seemed to be fairly quick in qualifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think they've addressed a lot of last year's problems. And two drivers, and no offence to Lewis, but they've got two drivers this year where neither of them are phoning it in.
Yeah, I don't know that Lewis was phoning it in with Mercedes last year, but I mean, yeah, he was
towards
looking
the
ahead
end.
to the future at some point, wasn't he? Yeah,
With Lewis last year, it was a real, I don't like the car, they're not going to change it to how I like it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
There's no way. I just want to point out, by the way, like I love Lewis Hamilton. Think he's a great driver. Still think he possibly has an 8th championship inside him as well. But there's no way that he would have done what Antonelli did. Not at this stage of his career. He would not have qualified 16th and finished 4th in the Mercedes like Kimi Antonelli did. And that's not me saying that Kimi Antonelli is better than Lewis Hamilton or anything. It's just that Antonelli dealt with that a lot better.
Yeah.
Hamilton was in a Ferrari that had an awful call. But yeah,
people work differently when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think I think Antonelli's got sort of the youthful impetuousness, and current Lewis is a lot more calculating.
Yeah.
More Proustian.
Yeah.
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 Whereas Antonelli is driving like a young Ayrton Senna, like literally on the ragged edge all the time.
Yeah.
But that's what makes him exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Because he's either on pole by like 6/10 or he's, like you said before, upside down in a gravel trap.
Yeah.
Mercedes does bring me to my second participation award of the weekend, which is George Russell. He did nothing. He was third.
It was a race of his own, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's rude. I can sit here, this tiny room, which I think George Russell would have for his shoe closet, and say, "Oh well, George Russell didn't do anything. He was brilliant. He didn't bin it. He was all by himself for a long time, and he earned a podium, even though you could say he spawned himself into a podium by Piastri deciding that turn 13 should be taken sideways. He did genuinely earn that by being 4th when it mattered. So, well done to George Russell. A very, very good drive. But we saw none of him.
Yeah, we didn't really...
Yeah, I can't tell you anything about his race.
Yeah, every time we saw Mercedes, it was usually passing Hülkenberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two ends of the spectrum, but they had they're very different races, the Mercedes drivers, but they ended up lined astern 3rd and 4th.
Yeah. Who knows if we had another 5-10 laps, whether they would have fought as well.
We never saw the penalty that he was given and then rescinded for either, did we? We never saw that. Not captured on camera or anything.
No, it was an unsafe.
Over the weekend
it was an unsafe release. I think it was released into Hülkenberg.
It was released into Hülkenberg, and I think Mercedes argued afterwards that while they released him early, he actually managed to keep the car in the slow lane, so he didn't actually impede Hülkenberg. So I think that's why it got overturned, or words to that effect.
Okay.
There will be a document somewhere. And that leaves us with McLaren.
Hooray!
Back on top.
Back on top. Thought we were going to get a 1-2. Piastri got points thanks to Jeremy Clarkson.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who was watching the Sky commentary, it was almost like Martin Brundle, like foretold what was going to happen. He needs to put that in reverse and treat it like a front-wheel drive car. Is exactly what he did. Put it in reverse and the cheers that he got from the crowd for getting back on the circuit. Okay, it took him literally a whole minute, but I mean, that was it. He rescued. Anybody else would have just been like beached them out. Whereas what we saw there was grit and determination, no panicking as such, just like, okay, well, I can't go forwards, I wonder if I can go backwards. And then just like, okay, well, I can go backwards, but this is going to take a little while. and then eventually found his way back onto the circuit, somehow in an undamaged car. And yeah, okay, he was the 13th, 14th or something when after his pit stop, and he rejoined. I think he was only ahead of Ocon at that point. But yeah, he had the pace in that car to then make some late overtakes. And as you said, that last lap overtake on Lewis Hamilton, which I don't think, nobody would have seen coming. To put your McLaren in a space that's like a McLaren plus 1 inch, for a concrete wall on that Ferrari, that was a special overtake, and I think it really, really shows that had Oscar had a chance of winning that race, and I think at one point he did when he's putting Lando under pressure, he would have taken it. He would absolutely have taken the opportunity to win that race. I do feel a little bit sorry for Oscar in that, Lando's gone and got the 25 points. Oscar's got 2. So he's already 23 points down. So, if Oscar wins the next 2 or 3 races and Lando finishes second to him, he's still behind Lando Norris in the championship. But we saw last year how important it is to get good results early doors. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad race. It's a bad result for Oscar Piastri.
Yes.
To find himself in 9th place. Not really his fault. Again, wet weather. Lando and Oscar were the first drivers to come across the rain at that turn. They both went off the circuit. Lando just somehow managed to come on facing the right way. Oscar came on and then was still carrying too much speed, and for the next turn, which he had to try and, as Kieran said then, try and take sideways. It's just one of those things. Again, some dry running, and I'm sure we'll see those 2 McLarens disappearing off into the distance, much like Mercedes did all those years ago.
Yeah. The internet is saying they're already fed up of McLaren's dominance.
Well, the internet will be happy. Dominance. Have you seen the thing about the rear wings today?
Ah, yes.
Yeah, already by China, they're limited.
Yeah,
this was going to be by Miami, wasn't it, originally?
Spain, I think it was, yeah. I think it was by Spain. But the thing is, because your man from Red Bull, Pierre Vacher, is it? He protested Ferrari and McLaren's flexible wings after testing. Apparently, he made a note of it to the FIA saying, "Well, their wings are still flexing," whereas you said they've got to be outlawed by a certain point. There is no way McLaren and Ferrari do not have more solid wings ready to go. But if the if the rule is that you're going to have to clamp down on the flexi wings after Miami or after Spain or whatever it was, they're going to use that until Spain or Miami or whatever. They're not just going to be like, okay, yeah, the rules are changing in like Check's watch 3 races time. We should probably put that slower bit on right now, even though we don't legally have to.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen, is it? No. So I mean, if the FIA are like, no, you can have like no flexing at all by, Japanese Grand Prix, the solid wings will just have to come a little earlier. Of course, they already have them. They're just not putting them on the car yet.
Yeah, exactly that. No. And there isn't much reason for. I mean, whether it is a second and a half a lap, that's not down to a slightly bendier rear wing. Is it?
No,
that's just going to be one step that the teams will take throughout the year to try and chip away at McLaren. And some will be done on the track and some will be done in the FIA World Motorsport Council, or whatever you call it, or at Liberty Media's base. It's just one small step. It's not going to fit. It's not going to change everything. It's not like DAS, or it's not like when they had the old F-ducts back in the early 2010s. It's just one small step to take away from a tiny bit of pace. But it won't change the situation. So why not just wait till Miami or Spain?
Yeah, I mean, you just know that all the other teams are going, getting ready to queue up to go to MBS and say, McLaren said poop. That's illegal. Rock stars and wankers. Well, I'm going wankers the internet.
Just before we get to that, Has any of us said Lando Norris's name in this whole podcast?
I don't think
we haven't. No,
he won the race.
Yeah. All right, Rockstar, definitely.
We can't get to Rockstar because we haven't talked about the fact that Lando was brilliant during the race.
Yeah.
He did make a couple of errors, but I mean, it was he came through it sort of. Should we say unscathed? Is that the right way to say?
I think if you're first on the road in a wet race, you are going to have the odd moment, aren't you?
Yeah, of course. You're the first one who gets to all the conditions, and a little bit of luck, of course. But I mean, you do also make your own luck. So decent qualifying, decent race start, and good pace in the race when it was fairly steady. That's why he was in the position that he was in. Lando absolutely deserved that win. Weird to think that it's only his 5th win in Formula One, but it is only his 5th win. And I think we're going to see many, many more this season. Far too early to say whether or not he's going to be a championship contender, but he's got to be, surely. The McLaren just looks so quick.
Yeah.
He has to be favourite now.
You would say so. It's still 23 races to go. As long as he doesn't drop more than a point a race, he'll be fine to Oscar Piastri anyway.
I think McLaren are looking good for the constructors this year.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a done deal.
Yeah, they've built a car that both drivers can drive. And Ferrari, who look like their biggest threat, not going to rule them out just yet, but there was not a good showing to start with.
Yeah, I think Lando and Oscar in that McLaren is, at the moment, a far better pairing than Leclerc and Hamilton in that Ferrari.
Yes, I would agree.
Just think, could have been Oscar in that Alpine.
I'm sure he's very sad about that.
Yeah.
This is wrong.
Had they not nicked Piastri and they're still going to sack Ricciardo, who would McLaren have got?
Oh, that's award. Oh, so had they not sacked Ricciardo and not managed to get Piastri, who would McLaren...
Either Gasly or Ocon would have been on the market, but I don't think McLaren would have been in the market for an Ocon. And maybe not a Gasly.
Maybe Gary Pathett would have finally got...
It's going to be my year. You're 54.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Would Bottas have gone to McLaren, do you think?
That's an interesting one, yeah.
I was about to say Alonso, but the whole reason Piastri would have been at Alpine would have been because of
Yeah, but
Alonso.
you can't rule it out with Alonso, can you? Oh, it's right. I'll take it.
Have you burnt a bridge? Yes. Really? Yes. Are you sure? Yes.
He has
Wanna
lots
come
of
back?
bridges.
All right.
Yeah. So we've got all these bridges that you burned, and what we've done is built a bridge out of them.
Oh, it's on fire.
Yeah, I don't know who they would have taken.
Maybe they would have gone for Pato Award.
Yeah.
In the other driver program, Bortoletto was, but it's
It would have been too early for
late.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
No.
Alex Rossi?
No. They don't even want him in IndyCar anymore.
Well, the wanted him.
Alex Palou, maybe.
I don't know if he'd quite established himself then.
He'd already won one title.
True.
Yeah, that is interesting. The what ifs of Formula One.
Yes.
The biggest what if, of course, for anybody who's fairly new to this podcast, is that when Hamilton signed for Mercedes in 2013, it was between Hamilton and Hülkenberg. And if Hamilton said no, the Mercedes were going to sign Hülkenberg. Now imagine that. Nico Hülkenberg, 6-time world champion.
And not a podium in them. He's fourth every single race.
He just finished 4th every race, and there was a different top 3 every race.
Here's my trophy cabinet. 6 world titles and no races.
The first world champion to miss out on a podium because of a Minardi.
Well, didn't Keke Rosberg Senior, didn't he win the championship in 82 and he only won a single race, didn't he? Like the whole year. He was just constantly finishing second and third behind different drivers.
Yeah.
That does ring a bell.
Ended up with the title.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the year with a ridiculous number of winners. We need Statman on. I'll give him a shout.
Yeah.
If I remember right, Esteban Ocon won the GP3 title in 2015 with 11 seconds in a row and not a single win.
Oh, wow, okay.
What's his face, whose name eludes me? Leonardo Fornaroli. Is he the F3 champion at the moment?
Yes.
He didn't win a race last year.
He didn't win. He didn't win a race in F3.
No, but he was constantly in and around the podium.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
So, yeah, we could have seen Hulk do that.
Hmm?
Yeah. He had 1 second, 2 seconds, 4 thirds, and that was enough for the F3 title last year. In fact, to go finish second, which is Gabriele Mini, he won Monaco feature race, and that was it. Not many winners amongst them. Arvin Lindblad won the most races last year in F3. He won 4, and he finished 4th.
I assume there was a lot of DNFing as well then.
So there were 16 races. In the 1982 season, there were 16 races in that season, and Keke Rosberg, who won the championship, this is his results in that season. So he was 5th, disqualified, 2nd, didn't take part, 2nd, retired, 4th, retired, 3rd, retired, 5th, 3rd, 2nd, won the Swiss Grand Prix that was held in France, and then 8th in Italy, and then 5th in the final round.
I mean, it raises the question, what the fuck was everyone else doing?
Well, this is the thing. Alain Prost, so Prost sounds really good, but he finished 4th in the championship this year. So Prost is first, and then it's retired, 7th, not classified, retired, 6th, 2nd, retired, 8th, 2nd, retired, 4th.
Brilliant.
Yeah, how many winners overall did they have that season?
Oh, they had, so you got Alain Prost, Niki Lauda, Didier Pironi, John Watson, René Arnoux, Patrick Tambay, Elio De Angelis, Michele Alboreto,
Riccardo Patrese won one as well.
Did Patrese win a race that year?
Yes, he won Monaco.
Patrese, yeah, and Nelson Piquet.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't.
That was as many races as there was.
It was only points up to 6th, and there was something like 35, 36 different drivers took part.
Yeah, they didn't all win races, not quite anyway. But we could be on for a season like one of those. Who knows?
Yeah, 18 constructors.
Yeah.
We'll never get that again.
6 teams, 36 drivers. I do like the way in the F2 this year there's a muddle of M's.
Oh, Mini and Miney.
Mini and Miney,
yeah.
and they're both in bloody Alpine liveries.
Mini, Miney, Marty, Martins, Miata and Montoya.
No.
That sounds like a nursery rhyme.
Nah.
Are they all calling Victor Martin's granddad?
Still got to go a long way to beat the record for the number of GP2/Formula 2 seasons, which lower class racing legend Johnny Cecotto Jr. 9 seasons he took part in.
You could also be Roberto Meri, who just keeps turning up.
Anyone got a seat?
Yeah. And funnily enough, I don't know if anybody spotted this, but did you know Roberto Meri is actually helping Carlos Sainz assimilate to the Williams team?
How? What is his qualification for that?
Get good or you'll go back to F2.
We've got this race winner in a world championship winning team of the past. Someone call Roberto Meri. Let's make it work.
God.
There's that brilliant Will Buxton tweet from about 10 years ago where he said, many great young drivers taking part in this summer's young driver test in F1, also featuring Johnny Cicotto. he got a lot of shit for that.
What, calling Johnny Cicotto a driver?
Yeah,
wasn't Johnny Cicotto senior one of Ayrton Senna's teammates?
Yeah, he was also a motorbike world champion.
Was he really?
Proof that speed doesn't run in the family. Or he was certainly a race winner in what is now MotoGP. Hang on, let's have a look. John Cicotto was 48 starts, 14 wins.
That's a good return.
That's in bikes.
Yeah, that's a good return.
In Formula One, where he raced with Theodore and Tolman.
Yeah, it was Tolman. I think he was teammates with Senna.
18 starts, 1 point.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, he won the 1975 350cc World Championship. I don't know what it was.
Now what?
Yeah, Moto.
Now, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be sort of the equivalent of Moto 3. But yeah, he was better than his son. Right, rock stars and wankers. We have to do this. I'm guessing we want to get things wrapped up because
yes, we do.
Realising I was getting like rock stars. Right, Lando.
Yes.
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 Anthony Hamilton.
Anthony Hamilton.
Yes.
Yes.
Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah.
Yes. Rockstar. Absolutely.
Nico Hulkenberg.
Yes.
Sauber.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
McLaren pit crew for the double stack pit stop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Williams, just in general.
Yeah.
Minus
the crash.
Minus the crash, but for surprising.
Yeah, minus Sainz crash. Yes.
Sainz.
Australian fans.
Yes.
Yeah. For not invading the track this year and the Grand Prix not getting summoned to the stewards. As happened last season.
A brilliant video of Piastri reversing back when he finally found reverse gear and he was making his way back to the little tarmac bit. There's a video from behind the car as opposed to looking towards the car, which is the difference, where there's two people I can only describe as the most Australian people in the world, beer in each hand, absolutely throwing each limb at Oscar Piastri with all the energy they've got left to scream him on to get it back onto the tarmac. Wonderful. Love it. So to quote Lewis Hamilton, some of the best fans.
The Jeremy Clarkson Reversing Academy.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyone got any others?
I think that's it.
Let's have a look at what our regular Rockstars and Wankers correspondent Wings Triumphant on Discord says. Max for taking the fight to McLaren solo and getting tantalisingly close.
That's a good point. Yeah, we'll go with
point.
Max. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got Norris, obviously. McLaren, Antonelli. Russell for sneaking a podium out of fucking nowhere.
I'll go with Kieran and say he didn't really do very much. He just sort of sat on the track and it came to him.
Anthony Hamilton and Rain for shaking up the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rain. Mm-hmm.
Right, Wankers, helmet marker.
Yes.
Why? What?
Yes.
You see, when you raise the wanker bar so high, it's very hard to find another.
I mean, we've got
who do we want to tarnish with being on the same level as helmet
Because I
marker?
don't rather pop at any of those rookies. A wet first race. I mean, you might have a pop at Behrman, but that's only because he couldn't stop binning it. And even then, it's your first race in that new car.
It all came from the first binning where everybody else had run the same line through that corner and hadn't gone off, and he just lost it. Probably because of all the gravel that was on the track from everyone else running that line before him.
Yeah.
Haas, somehow worse than Sauber now. Jesus, what a low bar.
You might have a bit of Haas this year.
Marco and Red Bull for refusing to give Yuki a chance at the main team.
Yeah, fair.
We've already got Marco in here once.
Oh,
so
he
yeah,
can go in twice. I feel like he's wanker enough to go in there twice.
Calling Bortoletto a B-grade driver.
And a fourth time for calling doing a C-grade driver. Then watching both of them out-qualify the bloke you just promoted, knobhead.
Yeah.
Are we going to rename this Rockstars and Helmets?
Maybe.
Yeah, the Helmet Award. Gene Simmons, but worse.
Oh, Gene Simmons is getting the Gene Simmons Award for being a rock star who is a wanker by charging people $12,000 to be his personal roadie for the day.
Oh God, I read about that. Ugh.
No, that's just wanker. I can't think of anything else really that can go in the wanker category.
Oh,
No.
The rain for cancelling the F2 race.
So the rain is a rock star and a wanker.
That the rain is for Gene Simmons.
Excellent.
Oh wait, hang on a second.
No,
Rockstar.
did it get
Rockstar for the graphics in F3?
What, because they go all the way down to 30?
No, because there were ducks on the track.
Oh.
Oh yes.
And they decided to zoom in on the 4 ducks, and they called them Michael Shoequacker, Mika Quackinen, Quack Villeneuve,
Oh.
and I can't remember who they called the last one. But
Kecky Ross Quack. I don't know.
Quack Doohan?
No, I don't think it was actually. I think it was all older drivers. But it was very funny that they decided during the safety car period to zoom in on some ducks and give them some racing names whilst they were just running alongside the track.
Actually, we've got an F2 wanker. Funnily enough, the graphics for when the race was Canacler led.
Oh yes. Race update. Race is clunk.
Was this the same person who put the board outside the Australian Grand Prix entrance where it said, drivers you can expect to see Charles Leclerc?
Actually, while we're on the subject of the graphics, stop dicking about with them. They kept removing the gaps between drivers for too long.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
there was like overall gap behind the leader, tyre compound, favourite breakfast meat, and gaps between the cars would have been nice.
Well, and there was no pit stop times all weekend. Didn't see a single pit stop time.
No, that's true. I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, so everybody wins the every slowest pit stop reward.
Yes, the DHL. No, not DHL.
You get the fastest for DHL, but given the way that Hermes or Every deliver, they get the slowest pit stop award.
Yeah, the Valtteri Bottas award for you weren't very quick in the pit stop. Max Verstappen, well done, Sean.
I think that about does it for this week. We will throw some predictions together for China, because that is coming up this weekend as well. So if you're planning on a lie-in the weekend, nope, not going to happen.
It's not quite as upsettingly early, is it?
Unless you want to get up and watch the sprint at 3 a.m. UK time and work that out yourself from where you are. If you want to get in touch and if you want to send us an Is That Glock, email 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, at 3legs4wheels on the socials, except for Blue Sky where it's 3legs4wheels.com, and individually our socials are
at Sean Cowper,
at Flood21,
at Kieran is boring,
and at Pablo100. Don't forget, go to the website 3legs4wheels.com, and there's the prediction league there. Didn't have fastest lap this weekend because we had a software fault, but that is returning for the Chinese race and onwards.
Oh, I forgot entirely about that. I dare not look.
I think I got the one too, right?
Yeah, I will put our predictions on their own page. Kieran, you didn't go well.
Then
I'll send mine through, I think, later on.
Yeah, I was going to say, because there's two things here, isn't there? There's the fact we haven't predicted China, but that can be done later.
Yes.
And also, I'm pretty sure I put Sonoda as third in Melbourne, and I wonder why I do so badly.
That is a bold prediction.
Oh, I just saw Rain and him in fifth, and I didn't get qualifying in time, so I thought I'd do the race, and turns out I'm still bollocks.
On that note, all being well, weather permitting, we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.